So we're making Ras Malai today.
I really need you to hear what I'm saying.
Normally I multitask, okay? I'll be heating my milk up and I'll make the balls like at the same time. But for the sake of this live, I don't want to do two things at the same time because I don't want to make it difficult or complicated for you. So we're going to heat our milk up later. So I'll be by making the Ras Malai balls, okay, first. Myself a mixing bowl, okay, and a small bowl as well. So I've got 4 eggs here. What I'm going to do is separate my eggs. So I'm going to put my egg whites into the large mixing bowl and the egg yolks into the small mixing bowl. Okay, so try not to get any yolk into your egg whites because it just prevents them from whipping up, because we're going to whip the egg whites up, okay, to make them nice and fluffy. So we want 4 egg whites. We're going to put the egg yolks to the side. You don't really need them for this recipe, so you can just use them for something else later. You want to get your electric hand mixer, and what we're going to do is we're going to whip up the egg whites until they're nice and fluffy and aerated. So that's what you're looking for, guys. You want basically a nice foam build up, kind of like a soft peak on your egg whites. Okay, so to our egg whites we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of oil. So any kind of flavorless oil like vegetable oil or sunflower oil. You don't want any kind of oil with a strong flavor, so just a couple of tablespoons of oil. And then we're going to add enough milk powder to bring the dough together as like a ball. Okay, so it's roughly about 200 grams because I weighed it last time I did it. I wanted to make sure the measurements were like roughly there for you. So I did weigh it last time I did it, but I'm just going to weigh it again this time just to make sure. So basically you just want to add enough just to bring the dough together. So it's roughly about 200 grams, not always the same. Obviously it depends on the size of your eggs and that kind of stuff as well. So just basically just get your hands in there and you want to just gently just bring it together just like you would any kind of dough, and you want to form, basically put enough milk powder in there so that it's not sticky and that it comes together as balls. Okay, so we're up to 200 grams now. And then you just basically just bring it together. You can just add yours in bit by bit and then bring it together and see if you need to add more or not, okay? As you know, with a lot of Asian recipes, a lot of guesstimating. So I did kind of roughly try to put the measurements there for you so that you've got an idea rather than trying to wing it. Okay, so that kind of looks right to me. Okay, so when you pinch it, it should come together and should stick together. So I've got a plate here. What we're going to do is we're going to pinch some of the dough and we're going to make very small balls. You basically just want to gently roll it in between your hands, okay, like so. If you feel like it's too dry, you can add a little bit more oil. You just might have put too much milk powder in there. And you basically want to roll balls like this that are roughly the size of a ping pong ball, I'd say. Okay, make sure they're nice and tight. Yeah, these basically expand in the milk, so you make them quite small and then when you put them in the milk they will expand, so you don't want to make these too big, okay? Look at that. We've got our balls prepared and now we're going to heat up our milk. So we got 4 pints of whole milk and that's going to go into our cooking pot on the stove, okay? For all 4 pints, you need a pot big enough to put all your milk in, okay? So you want enough space for the milk to be able to boil without it boiling over in your pot. So you can see I've still got plenty of space for that milk to boil in there. We're just going to put it on a high heat and we're going to bring it to boil. So put your milk on, and also we're going to throw in 2 cardamom pods. Some people like more, some people don't like it at all. You can leave it out completely. It's nice for just a little bit of scent in the milk, but you can leave it out if you don't like it. I'm just going to add 2 in mine because we don't like it too fragrant. So you can add more in if you like. I'm just going to crack the cardamom pod first, then put it into the milk. Okay, both of them. So just literally just crack it onto the surface and then put that straight into the milk, and we're going to let it come to a boil so the milk will take up the fragrance from the cardamom pod. Okay, and we're going to weigh out the sugar that I use. 125 grams of sugar. Put that sugar in, and then I'm going to taste it later and see if it's sweet enough. If not, then we'll add some more. If it's fine, then we'll just leave it as it is. We don't add it in straight away, okay? If you add sugar in straight away while the milk's still cold, then it sometimes tends to sink to the bottom and stick at the bottom, and you'll just get burnt sugar. So you want to wait till the milk starts heating up and comes to a simmer before you add any of the sugar in there, okay? So at the moment we're just waiting for our milk to boil. I've put some sugar in a bowl, which we're going to add into there shortly. So I'm just going to get a spatula. You can use any kind of spoon. Obviously my thing's non-stick, so I like to use rubber spatula. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a mix so that the milk doesn't stick to the bottom of my pan while it's heating up, okay? So my milk's starting to simmer, so I'm going to add in my sugar. And I'm going to mix it in for a few seconds. So let's move you guys up. So my milk is frothing up, it's coming to a boil. So we're going to let it come to a boil, then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. And then I am going to put the balls in, okay? So I've put it on a medium heat now, and I'm going to go ahead and add my Ras Malai balls in, okay, that we made earlier. The milk is boiling. Can you see? It's bubbling. So we're going to add in our balls, all of them. I'm going to increase the heat ever so slightly just to bring it back to a rolling boil, because the temperature decreases once you add the balls in. So you want to make sure it's back at a rolling boil, okay? So I've increased the heat ever so slightly. And now I'm going to bring it down back to a medium. Right, you need to cook these balls for roughly about 8 minutes, okay? If you're using Nido milk powder, it's going to take a little bit longer. So make note of the time. And you want to cook them in the milk, boiling like this for roughly about 8 minutes, okay? Then simmer them for 8 minutes roughly. Take one of the balls out, okay, and then you can see if it's cooked, and if it's not, then you can put it back in for a little bit longer. So you want to take one out and you want to check to see if it's done, okay? So take your ball out, and then you want to break it in half, and you want to see if the inside is fully cooked. So mine is cooked. It's hard inside, that means it's not cooked yet. So that means you need to cook it for a bit longer. You can actually just taste it as well. If it's hard, then it needs cooking for a bit longer, okay? So I can turn this off now. You're going to let your Ras Malai just cool down completely. So the double cream you're going to add once it's cooled down. So you can cool it down faster if you want to. You can fill your sink with some cold water. Move your tap away so that the water doesn't go inside there. And then put your pot inside the cold water. And then you can just leave it in there and stir it occasionally in between just to cool down the Ras Malai faster. Alternatively, you can just leave it until it cools down to room temperature on your stove. And once it's cooled down completely, then you're going to go in with your double cream, okay? So if you put the double cream in while it's hot, the double cream will split and release oils, and you'll get like a greasy layer on the top of your Ras Malai, and you don't want that to happen, okay? You don't want the grease floating at the top. So you want to basically cool it down first and then add in your double cream. So once your Ras Malai has cooled down to room temperature, you're going to get your double cream. You've got a small 300 milliliter pot, and you would just want to add half of this pot into your Ras Malai, okay? Just give it a little bit of a stir. And then you're just ready to put that in the fridge until it's completely chilled. So at least chill it for 2 or 3 hours. It tastes best when it's nice and cold. So thank you so much for joining me, guys, and I hope your Ras Malai turns out amazing. Yeah, take care of yourselves, take care of your families. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bye bye everybody. Don't forget to send me your pictures.